Today felt quaintly historical, rather yesterday, after almost 2 years of silence, a silence marked not by withdrawal but by resilience, treatment and dignified endurance. The Princess of Wales returned to the public stage, and she did so not with glamour or spectacle, but with a moral argument, a proper one, a plea for tenderness. And the setting was the future workforce summit at Salesforce Tower, but rather the shiny glass perch from which London resembles a model village, but the real focus, however, was intimate and childhood care, ethical architecture of the first 5 years of life, and after the year Catherine has had, the words carry a new gravity. She arrived in a Roland Mouret suit, clean tailored, almost architectural in its severity. The ruffled Levalier blouse softened the lines, hinting that despite the steel, there has been frailty. And there, on her finger, a stack of 4 rings, a full history of a marriage worn like a palimpsest. Diana's sapphire, the Welsh gold wedding band, the post-George eternity ring, and now the new sapphire and diamond band, marking the end of chemotherapy. Jewellery as biography, jewellery as testimony, but the clothes and rings were only the prologue. What mattered was the tone. She spoke with a calm, restored confidence, and she chose to speak not about illness or duty or even monarchy, but about love. The love we feel in our earliest years fundamentally shapes who we become and how we thrive as adults. And that line is a distillation of 2 decades of developmental science, and also her own campaign, her life's work as she called it. And notably, this was not a sentimental speech. She was addressing business leaders, the CEOs, strategists and analysts whose worldview is built around productivity charts and return on investment models, and she told them bluntly that they are missing half the equation. Imagine a world where each environment valued time and tenderness as much as productivity and success. I was talking last night to somebody in a Turkish sort of business assembly, and we were talking about the word statement in English and the equivalent Turkish word devlet in Turkish, and the word devlet is about process, is about movement. The word statement has the element of finality to it. It doesn't need to have, and a statement, a decision, is about a relationship, is about the reciprocity that we build and the commitment that we make to an ongoing journey together. This is, I think, what she is talking about. She's saying, in effect, this is a challenge, not a royal ribbon cutting. She argued that every organisation, Deloitte, IKEA, NatWest, Aviva, those enormous entities that restructure our days more than governments do, has a moral duty to create workplaces where parents can nurture their children rather than apologise for them. And the point was not a soft one. The Royal Foundation's report suggests a potential £45.5 billion national benefit from early childhood investment. Tenderness in this context is not fluff, it's economic infrastructure. We need to be encouraging small children to do 3 things. We need to encourage them to speak earlier, to be numerate earlier. This is stuff that should happen before the nursery. This is stuff that is about parental nurturing and to interact with other children. So we are encouraging that sense of community and reciprocity from early childhood. What happens in early childhood determines how we develop in so many ways, and getting that right, both in those early years and in nursery school, and then into reception and primary school. It's not something you can simply delegate and say, well, this is something that we can do, that the schools will do for us. We need to encourage parents to be reading to children. If children are read to and have access to books, then they read earlier, and then they are committed to storytelling. Storytelling is part of our life, and in a world where technology is taking over, we need to be in control of that. If you go onto these things, you're sent messages all the time about this particular AI tool will do everything for you. No, it won't. But if you combine 2 or 3 AI tools together with your own intelligence, you might get somewhere. And it's that ability to control, to harness the tools and the potential that we find around us, that we need to learn this by playing early in childhood, by playing, by reading, by negotiating our environment. And this summit, the breadth of the summit yesterday emphasized that early childhood is no longer the sole province of psychologists and teachers. Sitting next to her was Sir Gareth Southgate, who spoke about trust, how footballers from unstable homes often struggle with pressure because they were never given the emotional scaffolding in childhood. Harvard professors spoke about the lifelong stability produced by nurturing relationships. The data are clear. Kate's campaign is not whimsical, it is rigorous, and it is necessary. One of the most striking elements was her acknowledgement of those who carried her work while she was undergoing treatment. She thanked Christian Guy for holding the fort, particularly over the last couple of years. This is not performative gratitude, not just some sort of theatrical curtsy. It was a rare moment of vulnerability for a woman whose public persona has often been porcelain smooth. Recovery has added texture. And then underneath all this policy and research was her message about dignity. She said she wanted to restore dignity to the quiet, invisible work of caring in a society that fetishizes busyness, productivity, and measurable output. That's a radical statement. It's a rebuke to the cult of the hustle, a reminder that people who hold families together, parents, grandparents, carers, are not an inconvenience to be managed, but the foundation of human well-being. If we aren't looking after our carers, there is nobody to care for us, whether we are small babies or whether we are elderly or infirm. Now, of course, there will be commentary. The snark has already begun, the tired accusation that a woman with a privileged life cannot speak about balance, the fixation on her outfit, the forensic analysis of her hair extensions. But such clatter misses the point. Catherine chose to return not with soft focus photographs, not with a social media video, nor with a carefully managed royal walkabout. She returned with a thesis. And that is significant. And it's a thesis which needs to be considered. I spent a good 8 to 10 years working in a Russian university, working in an area of education where we were looking particularly at nursery education, at the first years of education, and a lot of the time there we were thinking actually we have to go back even earlier. And people need help. First-time parents don't have any template. They need help. They need care. And you know, I think the thesis of the princess is good. It's significant. Royal women historically were supposed to exemplify tenderness. Diana personified it, sometimes painfully. Catherine has taken that legacy and tried to ground it in research, policy, business strategy. She's not asking for more hugs, she's asking for structural reform. And it was also quietly a moment of personal courage to stand high above London after chemotherapy, after retreat, after public speculation, and speak about the importance of safety and love. That's not a press release, it's a re-entry. And her 4 rings told one story: endurance, memory, marriage, survival. Her speech told another: that the next generation will not thrive unless adults relearn time, care, and gentleness. And she pitched that message not to parents struggling at kitchen tables, but to the nation's power brokers who need to provide the space for that care to take place. That is what made today remarkable. The Princess of Wales returned, not as a symbol, but as a voice. And in an age where tenderness is often too mistaken for weakness, she dared to argue the opposite, that tenderness is infrastructure, that love is strategy, that the weave of love, as she put it, is not some poetic aside, but the binding thread of a healthy society. It's not merely a comeback, it's a manifesto. And it's something that I think we will hear more of this, and other people will pick this up and develop it. And I hope they do, and I hope they take it in the right direction. We need more reciprocity. Our road, our devlet, needs to be our statement. Our devlet needs to be a road. It needs to be the journey that we pursue together, that we mold together. It's part of a process, not an end product.